Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, an unofficial podcast on the FX television show. Fargo Talks Fargo is hosted by me, Bill Lempe, and my buddy Charpie. Sponsors for this season of Fargo Talks Fargo are TAG, celebrating Fargo and the Midwest community through t-shirts, art, and graphics. For more information, visit tagfargo.com. And Fargo Brewing Company's Wood Chipper India Pale Ale with its bold hop flavor and velvety body. Grab a pint or visit them online at fargobrewing.com. There we are. That was our last clap. That's how we line up the episodes sometimes, because Charpie and I are in different places. Thanks to Jeff Russo giving us a little chat about making sure we clap at the right time. Only took us 10 episodes of Fargo, 24 episodes of Fargo Talks Fargo to get that right.
We finally got it.
Episode 10, Charpie, Morton's Fork. 1 hour and 30 minutes of FX television delight.
Yeah. What a fun trip it's been.
Yeah, I think it's been fun. I mean, we talked a little bit right before we started recording about how much we wanted to talk and how long this episode would be. We're not going to make this, you never know. Every time we say it's going to be quick, it ends up being like an hour and 40 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, so it's going to be really long.
This is going to be 2 hours long. No, it won't be, because, here's the deal. It's the finale. Things are up. We're not going to get too deep into like, well, what do you think this meant? Or, what? I think we want to leave that on your palate a little bit. Because I think there's a lot of things you can decide on your own. I mean, Morton's Fork in general is it's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. Morton's Fork.
That's right.
But we did get Pepper and Budge coming back to the fox, the rabbit, and a cabbage. Mm-hmm. A rabbit, a fox, and a cabbage, a fox, a turducken.
Yeah. So what we're kind of going to do is probably just kind of step through the episode, give our takes on what we thought of each little item, maybe pick out some little interesting things, and then off on our merry way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that the show was 10 episodes. I'm glad that it wasn't longer, to be honest, because if this turned into some, like network style, 18 to 23 episode show, I think I would have got just kind of exhausted as a viewer with basically all the shit that Lester gets himself into. It would have been like watching a Ben Stiller movie. Just like constant shit after shit after shit, to the point where it's just like, okay, how could he possibly keep doing?
You cannot be this magnanimous of a fuck up.
Yeah, right. I mean, just by luck, you have to get some things, like more things right,
Mm-hmm.
And Lester does get some things right, but
absolutely. I mean, he gets it out there. His like what he's obviously seeking to get out of this whole thing, which is completely and totally selfish.
Right.
After he tells his wife to put your hood up, the guy's officially like full-blown to the tilt cockbag.
And maybe it's selfish for good reason, for the first time he's thinking about himself. His whole life he's just been like beat down and kind of doing things for other people. So now he's finally getting a sense of what it feels like to do stuff for yourself. You
sound crazy when you say that, because you make it sound like he's been beat down. Like, remember that time people murdered all his friends around him, and he just couldn't get his just desserts, and now, now it's his turn to murder people to get his own way because he's a selfish cockbag.
I'm talking about the entirety of his life, not the past 3 weeks. So okay, he's always been doing things, without himself in mind, and going to work and trying to put food on the table and stuff like that.
Yeah. But Lester's got this plan, though, in episode 10 here, that he's just going to pop over to Lou's, sit down, order himself 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, two ginger ales, which come with no ice at Lou's, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, at Lou's coffee shop. As he's trying to create his own alibi, but it didn't work, because he's an idiot, and he left the plane tickets in the pocket. Not to mention he calls from the payphone outside. And I mean, I know this is Bemidji and it's the old days, but really, you don't think they can pull the the records from the phone and then be like, oh, we better dust that for Prince? I mean, come on, any Law and Order fan could tell you that's how you get to the bottom of a case.
In 2006, too, that might have been one of the last payphones. Or maybe they got quite a few of them over there in Bemidji.
Yeah, you can find them every once in a while. I was at a wedding couple years ago, and we stopped at a gas station and we saw a payphone. And I'm not kidding. There was a bunch of us piled into one car because we had a designated driver, and we all got out and took pictures with the payphone. It was that big of a deal.
I don't know if it's that big of a deal.
Well, to us, it's like you don't see them. You don't see them that often. Molly gets the call. She goes down. She's like, the other one got murdered? What did you think of the... I like the nice touch of the ending of this season that Fargo was not in its usual red. It was black.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. I mean, I wasn't like blown away by it, like, oh, that it's black now. But
no,
I do think it was,
either.
like you say, like a nice touch.
That's what I mean. I just like the simple touch of it. It's just like, hey, prep yourself. This is it.
We are just headed to darkness.
Yeah. I don't know if I bought any of Lester's. I'm sorry, but okay, Bill Oswalt's a screw up, but like, oh, just go ahead and crawl over your dead wife's body, say goodbye one last time. Ah, jeez.
Well, what do you say to somebody in that situation? You don't want to be the jerk that prevents him from
from messing up a crime scene?
It's not a crime scene, man. It's his wife. He's not thinking of it as a crime scene.
Well,
I'm talking about a normal person.
The only person at that crime scene who doesn't think it's him somehow or related to him is Bill Oswalt. But we got a lot of Lauren lurking around. He obviously knows shit's up. Budge and Pepper are hanging out. Lester's in the interview room having all sorts of flashbacks. I don't know.
What did you think of the very beginning of the episode when it started with the snowmobile tracks?
I don't know.
Did you try to lead that into anything before you saw it?
Say that. What do you mean? Lead me here. Lead me away.
Were you speculating in any way as to what that might mean or what that might be leading to? Because we see the tracks, we see a hole in the ice.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty strong hunch. It was Lester.
You think he's going down that hole?
Yeah, I do. I do, just because Lauren's character just this season doesn't really lend itself very well to oops, I fell in a hole after I was on a snowmobile. And it also doesn't suit Lauren as a vehicle of choice in a getaway.
Sure.
Lester would run. Lauren would stand his ground, so to speak. As we learn, he sort of sat his ground in the end.
Just kind of bloop.
Boom. There was a fair amount of just, I saw a quote that I gotta find here real quick, but I mean, I know Noah Hawley was on, and this is gonna be my comment on the overall show, and I think we touched on it last night in the hot dish, but Noah Hawley was quoted in an NPR interview the other day as saying, real life doesn't unfold like a story, and things happen that don't fit neatly into a box, and I'm okay with the way things ended. I'm okay that we didn't find anything out about Wrench. I didn't need Stavros to come back, but evidently, according to an interview on Vulture, there was scenes that he came back. They just cut it.
Really?
It didn't lend itself to the story at all. And so he just said, "Screw it, cut it." It didn't move the story at all. And I like hearing things about that.
Yeah.
About moving the story along, like how you can't fit everything in, and they're telling a 10-minute, 10 hour story, and that's okay to not get everything in, because that's just, everything doesn't work that way.
And every storyteller, like filmmakers and writers and stuff like that, they're always cutting out chunks.
Yeah.
And that's like gotta be just brutal, because those are your babies, and you want them to come back maybe somewhere down the road, but chances are unlikely.
Yeah, I did see a great thing in that same article where they asked him about that long tracking shot in episode 7 at the Fargo Crime Syndicate, and there were a lot of people that were like, it was a budget thing, it was this, and the people at Vulture, Denise Martin, who interviewed Noah, just flat out said, "So is this budgetary, or is that how you wrote it?" And Noah said, "Not. It was in the script." He wrote a full outline of it and turned it into the network with a diagram attached of how he was going to do it. So it wasn't a budgetary thing. It wasn't cheap. That's exactly how he wanted it.
I mean, that is interesting because that was kind of my thinking behind it as well, to be honest, is I thought it was like a budgetary thing.
No, not at all. And he said while they were watching it, that was right when True Detective aired that 1 6-minute. They had like a long 6-minute tracking shot that was pretty awesome. And he's like, "Hey, look, it works. Let's do it." Anyway, that's the things I'm going to be most excited about, is slowly like rewatching this, rethinking a lot of what we talked about. We never did get around to, because we're recording a little earlier tonight than usual. But it'll be fun for us to go back and check who's right, who's wrong. We do know, we know a bit. We know what's going on, but we don't know exactly what, is completely in Noah's mind. But hat tip still to James Garcia, who wrote that article we mentioned about Gus the dog catcher.
Yep.
Getting Lauren in the end, so I'm tipping my hat that I'm not wearing right now to James. Nice work.
So, we are...
I mean, I don't know if we have to go... We don't have to, like, break this whole thing down. Unless, if somebody's mad about it, please tell us that we suck and we should do it. But
did you notice the taxidermy wolf on Lauren's mantle?
What?
Like, in Lauren's cabin, there was a...
When we get to that first thing where they show us where he is?
Yep. I'm pretty
Really?
sure it was. I was watching it on a pretty small screen this time.
It's pretty dark. Okay, I'm bumping around here while we're doing it. Is that a wolf? No. Well, maybe it is. I felt like that was his house in a weird way. Like, you know what I mean? There was like no dead body out back.
It was kind of interesting. I mean, it did look like it would be his lair. It wasn't just sort of a... It didn't seem like something he just kind of smashed the glass and walked into and made his home, like everything else.
He's way smoother than smashing glass. He's stealing stuff out of glove boxes. He's impersonating and shutting down FBI investigations and backup, and Lou's on the front porch with a gun, and
that
Greta's out there going to shoot his eye out.
That's definitely a wolf.
Okay. There's been quite a bit of talk about the wolf appearing quite a few times in the show, and that if you do go back, and I've gone back and checked it out, I mean, if you look, there's just a lot of green landscape. You and I have pointed out that there's a lot of trees and stuff, and I think what's happened in this episode particularly too is that not only has Gus, with the help of Molly, figured out the riddle of the shades of green thing, but I think Gus became a predator himself for a little while. I mean, he stalked it. He figured it out. He
did.
He camped out. He basically turned that house into a giant deer stand and waited for his chance.
Is this your last clutch onto the fact that Lauren Malvo is a deer?
No. Well, maybe he became the deer, yeah. And he got taken down by a new wolf.
New wolf in town. Grimlead.
Yeah.
Grimlead has a new definition.
I thought there was a lot of nice ties to the beginning, the first episode, and to the last episode, with Lester, meeting his demise in Montana, running off into the distance the same way the guy in the panties guy.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. I mean, because they both viably froze to death, one in the air, one in the water. And I think I said this last night, that wearing that coat and everything and being in the water, it's the fish poster all over again for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, a lot of really nice touches in the.
Really like
it's
bright
not
colored
perfect.
jackets.
Yeah.
So
what else was like? What else really kind of moved you? Did you notice too that like there was a lot of tree art in Lester's house too? Like everywhere. It's like not only do we live
why
around
didn't
the
I pay
trees.
attention to the art this time? You're really up and up on your art.
A little bit of the art. I mean, there's a scene when he first gets brought home by Budge and Pepper, and he walks by, and there's a piece of art in his house that's got trees on it. It's just everything. It's like, yeah, it's like we live in nature, and we're gonna bring it inside too.
Do you think that we'll ever... I think it would be cool for FX to release Lauren Malvo's tapes.
Did you see the prop master was on one of the tapes again?
Oh yeah, I did see that. I
His name
didn't
was
even
one
put
of
it
the-
together. I was like, what? Whose name was that again? Yeah, it's Greg Oak. Oak.
I would imagine that's yeah. I also thought, did you watch Colin Hanks' tweets last night?
No, I didn't. I turned my
tweeted-
Twitter notifications completely off.
Oh yeah, that's right, because you're an hour
Yeah.
behind. But Colin's really good about not. He even I retweeted it saying, okay, don't spoil it for other people because there's plenty of time zones here and et cetera, et cetera. And he did mention though that when he went into that cabin, that scene of him going into the cabin, he said that was like the last thing they shot.
Oh, really?
And he said that while they were shooting that scene, he said something to the effect of that they right there changed a bunch of stuff. And it makes me then go, okay, wait.
Like what?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they changed the way he shot him, or did they change the fact that maybe Lauren was going to shoot Gus? I'm like all jacked up. Got to get one of those guys on the line. I want to know. Alternate endings.
There were a lot of pictures of, like, really old pictures of people in Lauren's cabin. Like, we're talking old school, like, silver gelatin plate kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe he did knock off a 95-year-old couple or something. Took over the cabin.
Somebody's old hunting shack.
I love that Lauren went and stole that book out of the FBI car just to sort of get the lingo down.
Well, not only to get the lingo down, but to shut it down.
Yeah.
Get that shit on. You better lock that shit down, Grimley. Lauren's locking that shit down.
That was a pretty cool move. Another sort of ode to Lauren Malvo's character and how he kind of just takes little extra steps to do stuff like that and sound more legitimate in the roles that he takes on.
Yeah. Also, I still think that scene with Bill Oswalt and Molly was pretty fantastic, but just how he doesn't have the stomach for it.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants his omelet.
He just wants...
he's got Tahir at home, his lost boy.
His idea of a police officer is more of like a community service officer.
Yeah, somebody who like helps you get cats out of trees and investigates missing garden gnomes. He wants to be the guy who comes by your house when your neighbor rats you out for not shoveling, because that happens.
And give
here.
the neighbor just a nice little talking to, maybe have a coffee
or
a donut.
Mm-hmm.
Do things real nicely, you know?
Yeah. I said this. Now I'm forgetting if I said this last night while we were chatting around the hot dish. But when Gus leads, we've just totally derailed chronologically. But that's okay. Everybody's seen the show. When they go to open up that case, I just kept waiting for the Marcellus Wallace glow.
I do that every time now when there's a briefcase in some sort of movie or show.
People open it up. Does he look like a bitch? I like the also. I just thought there was a ton of little nods back to the first episode that were great. The librarian and his wife sitting in the diner. Turns out he's also not a librarian anymore. He's a car dealer at the Double L Motors or whatever it was. And nice little tie back to the movie, as you brought up, the dealer plates.
Yeah, DLR.
Yeah.
So they're interrogating, or I guess interrogating for lack of a better word, Lester.
Yeah.
And showing him the pictures of Lauren and whatnot. And Molly goes off on this little story about a guy who drops his glove on a train platform.
Yep.
And instead of going back to get the glove or trying to jump off the train to get the glove, he throws the other one on the platform so that when somebody finds the first, they'll at least be able to hopefully have the pair.
I know if I found any mittens on the ground of a subway, I'd be like, gross, and I'd just fucking leave them.
Now I'm going to think about that. Man, that poor bastard.
Like, who would pick up a pair of mittens found in a subway and be like, I can't wait to wear these? I mean, that's like...
See, you're picturing a Subway. I'm thinking of like an old-fashioned like steam engine, and he's like, see, I lost my glove there.
I threw the other one out the window so they could have a warm pair of gloves for their hands. It's the right thing.
Exactly.
The right thing to do, Kitty O'Day, detective. We've solved the crime. What the hell?
There was not one glove, but two.
And that I tell you. What the hell just happened to us? We talk.
Maybe our next podcast should be on Detective Kitty O'Day.
This, you know what? You know the real thing is. This is what happens. See, when we do this, I'm drinking sparkling water with ice. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking plain old flat water.
God, this sucks. Hey, speaking of, you know what doesn't suck?
Pizza.
Fargo Brewing Wood Chipper India Pale Ale. We can't thank them enough. This is wrapping up their sponsorship of our show, and they helped us get this far so that we could come out here and reach you guys and help us defray the cost of putting this on, because we're totally getting rich doing this show. It's huge. I just ordered my Lotus today. But here's the deal. If you're in the area and you can get to our tap room at Fargo Brewing in Fargo, North Dakota, you got to go in there and you got to use a passcode, and you can get $1 off a beer for the next week.
You don't have to use a passcode, but that'll get you the deal.
Yeah. What happens?
You can just walk into the tap room.
Oh no, you can get in. You just, to get $1 off, you gotta use the password.
And we have a new password every week.
Well, this is the last password.
Yep, this is it.
And the password this week is what, Charpie?
Deal or no deal.
Boom. Get in there, get yourself $1 off a pint of beer. And not only that, we've mentioned this before, but it really works. I ran into a guy who was in there, and he did it, and he's like, wait, so I can get it? Like, it's already $1 off at happy hour. And it's like, $1 off at happy hour. Plus, you say deal or no deal, you got yourself $2 off a beer. Now you got yourself a $3 pint of Fargo Brewing craft beer. $3 for 16 ounces of, like, pure deliciousness.
And it's just fun to go to a brewery and be like, I'll take a wood chipper IPA, please. Deal or no deal.
Exactly. I like it. So get over there and do that.
Yeah. Thanks to Fargo Brewing Company for supporting us. Their wood chipper IPA. Check it out. If you don't get it in your area, request it from your local liquor store or bartender or whatever, and they'll tell their reps, and that's how things get started.
Yeah. And we, for real, I mean, Chris and John and Aaron and Jared, they got behind our idea when I walked into their brewery one day, and Charpie had recommended it and thought that the wood chipper was such a great fit, and they jumped on board. They were happy to do it, and we're happy to help them. And so if you're anywhere in Minnesota, you need to be asking for this. You got to get Fargo Brewing on tap.
Anywhere, really.
Because good stuff. Yeah.
Let's get the word out. They also have a really awesome Iron Horse Pale Ale that's out now, and so I know that's available in cans. So although Iron Horse isn't really the beer of the show, I really like it, so check that out as well. Fargo Brewing, you can check them out at fargobrewing.com. Follow them on Twitter at Fargo Brewing, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Fargo Brewing. Thank you guys.
Thank you. So speaking of Fargo Brewing and mittens, Charpie helped them not use a mitten for their logo.
If you like the mitten, I'm sorry.
Don't be smitten with the mitten.
The mitten was charming.
What do you make? Go ahead.
Yeah, it had its, purpose.
Yeah, it did. What do you make of Pepper and Budge having the cabbage conversation? Or what do you want to talk about? You tell me. Tell me something.
Let's talk about the story.
Oh, you want to talk about the mitten?
Yeah.
Okay. Teach
Not
me.
the Fargo Brewing mitten.
All right, tell me the real mitten story. What do you make of the mitten?
Well, my initial thought was that Lester is the other glove. So they're using Lester. So they've got Malvo out there. Malvo's sitting out there. He's the glove on the platform because he's slipped through their fingers numerous times. Mm-hmm. Okay, just like the glove slipped off the guy's hands. So Lord Malvo's the other glove. Lester's the glove that we have in our possession. Let's throw that out there. see what happens and see if we can bring both of them together
Oh, I like that.
And let them meet their
isn't that
destiny.
Nice? There's a lot of pairs.
You had no thoughts on the story?
No, I didn't. I think you just nailed it. So I'm not going to add to that.
I think you're right. We'll just end it right there.
Boom.
Thank you for listening to Fargo Talks Fargo.
No. There's a lot of pairs in this show. If you think about it. 2 dead wives. 2 sets of cops. 2 kind of anti-hero villains. The 2s kind of go on and on through the show. Everything's in pairs.
Stavros and the fire hydrant.
Yeah, everybody's kind of but there's like a lot of, they play off each other. So you got Gus and Molly. Bill's kind of only a halvesy. Lauren and Lester, Pepper and Budge, trending, and there's 2 murders. Lots of things.
Bill and his omelets.
Bill and his omelets. Yeah, well, that's, there was some talk about the eggs thing is a big throwback to the original movie. Because in the movie, Marge's husband, what's his face, gets the 3-cent stamp, makes him eggs, and Bob Odenkirk, who's the chief, wife, makes him an omelet. Eggs. Just yet one more tie back.
All right.
I also got an Easter egg I didn't catch. Do you remember when the guy from the garage in the original movie, don't remember his name. He's in that Carl was working with, and he goes over there and like kind of like pseudo threat Shep, right? Was it Shep?
Yep. Yeah.
Shep, he like threatens, and do you remember how Shep almost killed Carl?
Yeah, in the hotel room.
Yeah, with a belt.
Oh yeah.
Same, and then what's his face? Malvo sneaks up on the off-duty cop in the bathroom, rocks him with a belt. Another nice little Easter egg.
Okay, I could get on board with that one.
Yeah, there's just a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the big poofy jacket thing. When Gene's father, what's his name? Gophers. When he gets shot, his big puffy coat, feathers fly out, and same thing happens when Linda gets her dome shot. And we'll end it there on this sad note. No, I'm just kidding.
So when I found this interesting because if you recall, we were reading a post on Reddit about the cabbage fox rabbit deal.
Yeah, I like that one.
And some speculation onto how that applied to the show and how it applied to the turducken and all that kind of stuff. Well, that was like a brilliant sort of. If you, I'm not gonna try to get it all correct again, but just listen back a few episodes to the cabbage episode. And what they had mentioned, what tipped them off to the whole idea of that theory about stuffing the cabbage in the rabbit and then sending it to the fox or whatever. That's what ended up happening with Lester stuffing his wife in his jacket and then sending it to the wolf, which was Lauren Malvo. But what they said had tipped them off and started like getting them thinking about that theory was as they were driving to Lester's house and they drove down a road where there's 2 road signs, both with the stick figure sort of crosswalk kind of signs, road signs. Yeah. They're a little bit different. Maybe they're Canadian. But so they drive right down the road, and the shot's right down the middle of the road where you see the 2 signs on either side where it's just like a man crossing, like he's going back and forth. Kind of representative of the farmer and his boat and carrying everything back and forth, the cabbage, the rabbit, and the fox. When they brought that up again, they went right in between those signs.
Oh, really? Like with Lester, Pepper, and Budge in the car?
Yeah.
No kidding.
They weren't. It's not the same place they were talking about that parable originally, because the parable, when they were originally talking about it, Budge and Pepper, they were in the file room.
Yes. And
so this person had mentioned, when they drove to Lester's house, I saw these 2 signs, and it looked like a farmer sort of crossing the river, sort of looked symbolic of that.
Yeah.
So they nailed it because when Lester solved the riddle or whatever, right when he did that, they crossed between those two same signs.
Oh.
And it's just an exterior shot. It's like nothing special about it. It just happened to be in both episodes, and it happened to be when Lester sort of was solving the riddle.
Now I got to look this up fast while we're talking.
Okay.
I saw a thing that what they're trying to think. It was from Melissa Maris, who writes for Entertainment Weekly, and she also happens to be married to Chuck Klosterman, who used to write here in Fargo. I gotta find this. Evidently, the whole, and I don't know the full reference because I honestly haven't seen The Office, the version from the original Ricky Gervais version.
Right.
I gotta find this. She said it's actually that whole thing is also a throwback to that show.
Well, they said that Carmela said that.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed that.
From
I'm sorry.
FX Fargo. Yeah. Because
Well, that's
they're,
cool.
they got Martin Freeman boners, so they know like every frame of anything he's ever been in.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a Martin Freeman boner.
I can see it.
Like right now. Just saying. I can't wait. Season 2. Martin Freeman. Oh, wait, that's not gonna happen. He's gonna like come back. Is he dead?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I was thinking and reading about, and I agree with, is that people were kind of. So were you pissed that Molly wasn't the one who had the showdown with Lorne or Lester? Did that bother you?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it showed kind of to her. It was better for showcasing her humble character because, especially at the very end, when, I mean, Grimley's kind of even rubs it in a little more, saying he's getting a medal for an award for bravery.
Yeah, they're gonna give him a commendation.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay,
for shooting an unarmed
Grimley.
man.
Yeah. Which wasn't the right move, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
I do think the fact that, so I'm okay with it. I like the dog catcher thing. That's what I was expecting, and that's what I had been waiting for the whole time. Because Marge didn't catch Jerry Lundegaard. I think it's just one more slight mirroring of the other show. Lester's on the run, he's somewhere else, and instead of getting pulled out of a hotel room in his undies, he's been, I saw somebody post on Twitter that they're like, Lester's been on thin ice from day one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for a guy who got rolled in a barrel across the highway, he should have been dead. My guess is he's outlived his 9 lives, if he was a cat by a long shot. So I found it satisfying the way he died. Alone.
Yeah.
In the water. That's not a good way to go.
With just enough time to contemplate, like,
oh God,
how this all came down.
Yeah.
But so the dog catcher gets Lorne Malvo. Molly, like I said, it kind of plays to her humbleness. She still becomes the chief, so she still has her victory.
Sort of. I would have liked to have seen her get the job in a different way. Not because Bill
Not because somebody quit.
Yeah, I think she deserved better than that. They built her up a lot in the show, but I like the way that they didn't completely put her in harm's way. Which, by the way, Gus is like, hey, don't do that. You got to think of our family. I don't want my daughter to go to a funeral. And then he goes and hides out in a psychopath's...
Follows a wolf into a psychopath's home.
Yes, exactly. So, but, I just knew it. The minute I read the whole thing and I started seeing it more and more, I'm like, nope, this is how the show's going to be. I couldn't see any other end. But I like the fact that the other things got twisted up by Noah Hawley. That, everything doesn't come neatly wrapped. and that's just the way it is. Not everything doesn't end the way you want it to. All the time. Life's not fair, Charpie.
That's right. Shit happens.
Lauren fixing his leg with the sash cord. Gugh.
With like a thin piece of balsa wood.
Yeah. That
thing was messed up.
He wasn't gonna make it anyway.
Mm.
How do you sneak around?
He didn't even bother sewing it up. Just kind of set it and forget it.
He's Ron Popeil in that thing.
Yep. Set it and forget it. I think he was kind of zoning out onto that morphine too when Grimley came in. He didn't really give a crap about anything.
Although that moment when he was like and like came back to life,
that was probably my favorite part of the entire episode.
I couldn't tell if he was.
It was creepy.
If he was smiling,
funny.
or if he was, I don't even know what he was doing. It was just, oh God.
It was like, okay, is he actually like some sort of like paranormal being?
Yeah.
Is he a demon of some sort? Or is that just like hilarious in its timing? Which it was.
I do have one gripe real quick.
Okay.
You're in Montana.
No, I'm not.
It's Colorado. Let's imagine. You're in Montana. It's pretty snowy. There's snow on the mountains. You're obviously at altitude. Thin ice. I mean, we both have places that we visit via our parents on lakes. You've been on the ice. I mean, I've been on the ice later than that in the year. You know what I mean? Like the sun is out and there's snowbanks melting away and you can still walk on the ice.
I mean, it's certainly possible, especially in certain areas, because he was on ice for a long time. So there could have been a stream, it could have been...
Yeah, I guess you'll get a point. But I still...
It's possible. It was staked.
It
was posted.
Yeah.
They posted it.
Oh, yeah, we put up a sign so you wouldn't go out there. That's the other thing.
There would
never be a sign that says thin ice that I know of. If somebody knows of one,
fishing area.
If somebody knows of one, please tell me somewhere in Montana that they have thin ice things. I should ask my friends. I got a friend who's a smoke jumper with the forestry department out there. He'd know that kind of stuff.
Because he smoke jumps in a lot of thin ice
all the time. Turns out jumping out of the plane's not the dangerous part. It's the thin ice.
That's looking for those tiny little thin ice signs when you land.
Yep, you got to look for that and then just check for fissures in the ice. And you don't. Shit, you're gonna pull a Lester.
With the fishes.
Yeah. What if you're wrong and they're right? I had one other thing I was gonna bring up here.
The end.
I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I do wish I'm coming around again because I'm scatterbrained today. I just wish Molly would have got the job a different way. I wish it would have been.
How would she have gotten it though? Would Bill have to have died?
No, I just wish some point prior to it, and I just don't think there was time for it. You know, the way it was written was the fastest way. I mean, what really should have happened is that everybody would realize that Molly was right all along. Bill was bad at his job, and he would have been asked to step down.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, So imagine this whole thing is over, and they're like, holy crap, this Melville guy was real. He was connected to this. He was connected to Lester. He was, you know what I mean? Like, all the dots just appear, and they're totally connected, and then they're like, okay, Bill, time for your yearly review. You suck. Mm-hmm. Go eat your omelet at home, and we're going to put you on dog catcher duty. You know, that's how but I don't think there's time for that. There isn't time for that. And there's
from the first episode, he didn't have the stomach for it because,
never.
He came down to see Pearl murdered in Lester's basement. He could barely hold his omelet back,
I'd be ashamed to barf it up.
Oh, jeez.
And it never would have set him up to talk about that he doesn't like to think about that kind of gruesomeness to the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only that he's bad at his job. He doesn't want to see that kind of stuff. He wants the serendipity of finding his lost boy and having his omelet and enjoying family life and talking to your neighbors.
Mm-hmm. He should work at a hardware store.
Totally. That's a great job for him. He'd be so helpful too. He'd be like, no, you don't need that. You need this backup valve in case the toilet's gonna overflow. The sewer backs up, eh?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. He can carry his lunch in a little tin box.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so let's talk. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So let's talk quick about a few. What were some of your favorite things this season? Without us having to, because we talked about having a whole clip show, but we don't want to make you guys rehash our memories. Maybe we'll do it next time. If there's season 2, we'll say that right now, that our last episode, if episode season 2 airs, we're going to do this, right? We agree?
If there's a season 2, we are in.
We're doing it. And we'll have a thing ready for next year. As we go along, we'll cut clips out and have it ready for a last episode rundown. Well, actually, next year we'll have Noah Hawley on the show. We'll be there.
Yep.
But so what are some of your favorite things? Your funny things, what really sealed, things that really sealed this up for you?
Some of my favorites, I guess I really had a blast with the parables. I thought that was fun. It just provided a whole nother layer. It actually provided us a lot of content. It gave us a lot to think about, and I thought that was really clever. It wasn't just your typical story with its slow rolling start and climax and finish. It had multiple layers, and the parables for the first 2/3 of the show were really fun to. They were like little mind exercises, because you were trying to, first of all, read up on your parables, which was fun. Second of all, apply them to the story, which was, a great exercise. And then talk about it, which was a blast. So that, I think, is my overall favorite. I loved the tiny nuances or not nuances, but references to the original movie without having to completely bring in characters from the original movie.
Yeah.
Especially on little things like, signs on buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Showalter building.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with all those same things too, and I thought in terms of kind of paralleling the Coen universe. I mean, and he, there's people who are saying, "Oh, it's not as good as that. It's not as whatever," but it's at the same time, it's not. I don't know. I don't need it to be exactly the same. I didn't ask him to completely channel and copy them, and I think he put his own. I think he got the universe correct. He had all the stuff there, the dark, the bright and dark of each life, and managed to connect it all with the funny things, really funny moments. I mean, I still think about what's funny to me, and he's like, "Who else knows you're there?" And he's like, "Nah, my mom." When we're talking to Don Chumph, and
that was a pretty good, delightful little moment.
And so there's plenty of those moments though, and those are the ones that just that just do it for me. I guess I'm glad Don Chumph was there. I feel like we could cue his montage and have a lot of great stuff there, but it wasn't just him. There was plenty of other characters that just had simple one-off lines that kept things interesting and funny. I can't wait to see the extras when they come out on the DVD. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll have to do one extra show way later when that comes out, and we'll talk about the extras.
Then we can do a clip show.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. We'll have to wait a little while, but so there you go. If people want us to do that, if you want us to crank out one random show after that comes out and talk about all the extras and all the things that we've been talking about and recap that, send us a note on Twitter or on Facebook or at podcast@fargotalksfargo.com, and if you guys are up for that, we'll totally do that for you guys.
Do they still do that? Do people still buy DVDs?
I would for this.
I don't even have a DVD player anymore.
I don't either. I think I've got one somewhere for testing DVDs.
They're going to have to start selling DVDs with DVD players.
It's going to be
disposable ones.
It's going to be all part of it, yeah. Gosh, now that you mentioned that, he did mention though, Noah in an interview he did that there was some things that would be on the DVDs. So I guess
I think they should release Lorne Malvo's tapes. I sort of miss the good old days. Now, I don't know why I call them the good old days, but I miss the days when there was such a amount of energy around making so many interactive pieces to things. Like for a while when DVDs first came out, you could view multiple angles, and I'm not just talking about porn DVDs, Bill. But you could switch between different cameras, switch between audio tracks. Obviously, you can still do that stuff, but stories came along with additional interactive content like CD-ROMs and websites where you could sort of
click on stuff,
read on the characters and like really dive into that stuff. And that stuff's kind of fading away, unfortunately, in a world where there's more access to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not completely, I'm not talking about across the board. Obviously, there's some people that are doing those kinds of things, but it would be fun to just kind of open that briefcase of Lawrence and listen to those tapes and see what he's been through.
That's pretty dark shit, dude. No, here, I found it. I found the Vulture interview, and somebody asked, about the intention of checking back with Stavros and Wrench, and he says, I already brought this up, but here's what the scene was. He says there was a scene in episode 7 that was supposed to be Stavros and Gus was back investigating that company car, and he finds Stavros throwing copies of his book into the fireplace. And he says, it was a beautiful, kind of haunting scene, and it will be in the DVD extras.
Cool.
So
let's do a show when that comes out.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'll be good times.
One thing I liked about this last episode, just as a quick thing I just thought of, Molly's dad, Lou, when he's sitting on the front porch.
Tying knots?
Yeah, whomever sort of pieced that together, if it was Noah or what, that scene is awesome to me because I've seen my dad do that exact same thing.
Sit on the porch with a shotgun?
Yeah, when we're at the lake cabin, he'd sit on the patio with a 22 on his lap and work on his tying knots. Like, it is completely, almost identical. And just wait for, a skunk to come along or something. That's usually why he had a 22 on his lap.
Jeez.
And it would be like 5 a.m, and he'd already have drank 6 beers and smoked a pack of cigarettes.
Remind me not
that's
to.
Where that's how you get the skunks.
Remind me not to go onto that property unannounced. Hey, I need to do one more sponsor break here before we talk for a few minutes and thank a few people and wrap this up. But unless you've got any other things, feel free to kick those in, Charpie. But along with Fargo Brewing, we had another great sponsor who is Tag. And Tag Fargo celebrates our community through thoughtful apparel and gifts. And they have T-shirts, beer glasses, coffee mugs, onesies for your kids. And it's all based on stuff from our local area. And right now, if you use the promo code FARGO, you get 15% off your entire order. And we've talked about this a few times, but I mean, there are shirts on here that they're clearing some inventory, and they're great shirts, and they're $5. $5, and I'm still sticking with the Punch Gut shirt with the great. Mm-hmm. If you're into like tattoo looking art, you got to go get this Punch Gut shirt. It's $5. You get 15% off of that. Be a fool not to do it, but they jumped on board like wicked fast when I went to Jade to talk about coming on board, and I had a whole thing prepared for him, and I barely got like 10 minutes, like not even 10, like 5 minutes into it. I took like 2 sips of my coffee, and Jade just goes, "Cool, what do you want me to do?" That was it. And it's people like that in Fargo here that make things really, really awesome, and Tag is a big part of that for helping make this season of Fargo Talks Fargo happen for Charpie and I. And we can't thank them enough. So if you want to help us and make sure that we're back for a season 2, get out there and go to tagfargo.com, TAGFARGO.com. Use the promo code FARGO so that way they'll know we sent you. And get something. Buy something. Yeah. Buy yourself a great Fargo shirt.
If you enjoyed this show, which is free to you, then help us out by helping them out throw them a bone, buy a $5 shirt. Let them know you were listening. Let them know you got a good 25 episodes. Is that where we're at now?
Yeah, this is episode 25.
25 episodes of content for you for free. Buy something from tagfargo.com.
Yeah.
$5.
Don't just buy the $5 thing. I'd say go out there and buy that, and with the extra money you're saving, you could buy even more. So buy like 4 $5 shirts, or get yourself one $20 shirt.
Spend a couple $100.
Do it.
And then tell them we sent you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend $1,000.
Okay,
the economy's turning up.
Now you're stretching it. No, I think it was a great season. I had a ton of fun with it. I will say this is a really new experience for me, having we've worked on your other podcast that you and Joe Riley have, Grilling Addiction. I help produce that. I'm mostly behind the scenes on some of that one, but
What's grilling?
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
And I guarantee you there are people out there who definitely work harder than us, and some of them probably that's their job to do that. This isn't our full-time job, but we had a blast. It was so fun seeing how many people tuned in, and how many Wyoming. Did I tell you Wyoming? We finally got a download in Wyoming. It's the only state that literally would not listen to our show, evidently, and now we got them.
It was probably just somebody from another state passing through.
They were like, somebody that listens from Montana was like, I'm close to the border.
You go up to Wyoming and they're like, what's a podcast?
Well, yeah, we got to help them out. But
that's the Wyoming
we've had downloads in every state, and we've been downloaded in 64 countries, which is really exciting. And so thanks so much to our listeners outside of the States, in the UK and Canada, Australia, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Germany, Sweden, Japan, and the list goes on and on. But it's been a ton of fun. I really hope there is a season 2 so that we can do another season of this, but we're still working on some format stuff, and we'll be bringing back the Grilling Addiction podcast with a new name. Right now it's called What's Grilling, but I think we're going to change that, aren't we, Charpie?
Yeah, I think we're going to change it to Grilling Addiction, which is our blog, grillingaddiction.com.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun show. We're getting better at this the more we do it. You can tell just within this show that we're fine-tuning a lot of things. We're sort of working out some kinks so that we're not talking over each other so much and things like that. We're getting better. I think the Grilling Addiction podcast will be a blast. It's more of a, beer-drinking good old boy kind of, good old girl food show. It's like where we geek out. It's not just about barbecue. It's not just about grilling. It's about good food, good drinks, and good friends, and bullshitting. And it ends up usually being pretty fun. So I listened back to a couple of the last episodes, and I'm excited to get it started again, because I think we're going to be a lot better at what we do. It was a little rough around the edges, but it was our first podcast, so we'll start that up. Joe Riley is really excited. He's a funny guy. He's been on this show before, so him.
And I may be doing something else too, but we'll use this platform to launch that and let you guys know. That way, if you are interested beyond Fargo, because I'm not opposed to doing another TV one, but Sharpie's pretty tied up and busy, and I've got a lot going on. But there are a couple shows coming up that I'm pondering on. I know we had somebody already approach me wanting to know if we were going to do a show on Tyrant. I don't know yet.
Maybe.
I have a show in mind that I'd like to do, and it isn't related to the fact that we're from here. We'll just do it because it's fun. So, but Fargo, all in all, I love the way it ended, and I'm glad we did this, and I'm glad the way this is ending, and I can't wait to... Now I'm excited for the DVD extras to come out so we can do another show. But I thought it ended really on a nice note. The Grimleys on the couch with their daughter and the baby in the oven. And, I just want to hold you. I want to hold you like a baby. Get a little Sharpie in my arms.
Well, I would. I'd like to thank. Are we in thanking mode?
Yeah, we're in the. We're wrapping it up. Because I got some people I want to thank. Or do you want to roll with it?
Well, I was just gonna thank Jason Hummel, who's my business partner.
Absolutely.
Bill and I sort of concocted this idea just like a week or two before the first episode aired, and we were like, "Yeah, we got to do this show." And I work for a company called Chalk, and Jason and I own Chalk. And Chalk is a shameless plug. Chalk is a web design and development firm, and we're located in Colorado. So if you need a website or an app or anything like that, or usability testing or UI, UX, all that kind of geeky stuff, that's what we do. We do web design and app design. So
madebychalk.com.
Yeah. So we kind of concocted this idea, and I went and talked to Jason. I was like, do you think we could, squeeze in another website and get this whole shebang kind of rolling in like 2 days? And he was like, fuck it, let's do it. So we kind of burned the midnight oil a little bit and worked a couple nights and weekends and sort of threw up this quick site and set everything up and got everything ready for the podcast in time for the first show, which was pretty cool. So thanks to him for helping out in the development, and I got to work on the design, which was really fun. And thanks for letting me sort of take that little side break and put some work effort into making this happen.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome that you guys could do that, because it was a quick turn, and we have also had a ton of guests on the show, and we want to thank all of them, everybody from Joe Riley and John Lamb, who came on and did really early episodes so that we would know what we were doing, and tested it out. And John Lamb came back later, and Diane Miller, and I'm going to miss people here, but everybody who was on the show. Greg Carlson, and I also want to throw a big thanks to Carmela and Mia from the FX Fargo blog. They were super helpful, and from an early point, they started a little dialogue with us, and I think our introduction to them definitely made our show better. And it was fun chatting with them both times. And I know Katie, we never did talk to her, but nice work doing that. And then on our guests that we had, the extra interviews we had of Tom Musgrave, Julianne Emery, and Jeff Russo, which, if you didn't listen to the Jeff Russo one, go listen to it, because he does throw I think it's a pretty big, I'm working on season 2 right now comment.
Kind of. We
think. He said he's working on something for a little town up north.
It's worth listening to nonetheless. That was a solid interview. He was a fun guy to talk to. So was Julianne and Tom Musgrave. So.
Oh, I have to say that. We were talking about favorite episode things later. That is one of my biggest things in the entire episode was episode 7. When Lester kind of laid out his whole story. If you tie the whole scene, the whole thing, all the way up to the opening credits, that was my favorite part of the entire season.
Of the entire series? Mine too.
Entire series.
Yep.
So, or season. I'm not going to say series because I don't know.
I'm excited to rewatch. I think this might be, and perhaps because it's only 10 episodes, and it kind of wraps everything up, I'm excited to rewatch this with somebody else when they're watching it for the first time.
My wife hasn't been watching,
there you go.
I'm going to right now. She's too busy. I'm not joking. She's gonna be so mad I mentioned this. She's in the other room. She has literally in the last 3 days maybe watched the entire season 3 and is almost finished with season 4 of Game of Thrones. Just binging it. So proud of her. That's a lot of Game of Thrones. That's a lot of blood and boobs. But no, it was great, and thanks to you, Charpie, for doing this too. I did approach you with the idea pretty late, and you came through. You helped a lot, and you and Hummel built the site at Chalk, and boom, we've had the show. And thanks to everybody who listened and all the people who've been engaging with us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're listening to these later, we're going to keep an eye on these accounts, so please feel free to send us any feedback you want through those things, because it doesn't end just because episode 10 aired. We're here to talk about it and do what we can.
And also thanks to Scott Thune, who provided some of the photography for the website. Those are actual original photographs that Scott, a photographer friend of ours, took when we needed something super white and Fargo looking.
And he also helped make the wood chipper ad with the wood chipper can frozen in the block of ice. We did that in our office. So I think that's it. Do we wrap it up? We're coming right up on 1 hour right now. 1 hour. It's our shortest show ever.
I think so. We wrapped up the show pretty good enough. I mean, I think we've all seen the show. We all kind of know what happens. I did find it hilarious how Lester thought he was the king shit again after, Malvo got hit with the bear trap and
we didn't even
left.
talk about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to at least touch on it, even though we've kind of gotten our thank yous out of the way, but it was pretty funny how...
I don't even think he was on the phone, by the way, for real. I think he was faking it, wasn't he?
Yeah, you said that, and that's an interesting theory. I like that.
He's like, oh, I'm here in the bathroom. He just needed Lauren to come through that room. He was never on the phone. He
set the trap.
He set the trap and was going to get away from Lauren and trap him there in the house and kill him.
And of course, that's how it went down, because I was thinking, like, man, he went and got all of Chaz's hunting stuff, and he brought the bear trap too, but of course, that's what happened. I mean, he set the trap, he hid it under clothes, and he led the bear into the trap with that fake phone call. I'm in the bathroom and the door's not locked.
It's me, Lester. It's Lester, the guy who. It's me, Lester, the guy who knows who Lauren Malvo is.
You know Lauren Malvo.
You might remember him from such deaths as Frozen Panties Guy. Lead paint, delicious but deadly. Well, anyway, so we missed a few things, but that's okay. I mean, it's a finale for a reason, and I found it incredibly satisfying show to watch, and it's already nominated for some Critics' Choice Awards, which I think that's coming up. Is that tonight or tomorrow or somewhere very, very shortly? So tune into the Critics' Choice Awards and see how they do.
Yep.
Oh, maybe we'll even do an Emmy show where we'll talk about it again and what they're up against. Boom! I'm making all sorts of new shows to keep doing this.
Yeah, you are.
Never going to give you up.
Keep your podcatchers subscribed, or else stay in touch with us on Twitter at Fargo Talks Fargo, and FargoTalksFargo.com, and on Facebook, Facebook.com/Fargo Talks Fargo, so that you know when some new updates come out, because we'll be probably releasing a couple little audio snippets here and there, just to kind of fill you in on other projects.
Oh, that, and feel free to just follow each of us. I'm at Lempy, at LEM as in Mary, P as in Paul, E. That's my Twitter, and Charpie is at CHARPIE. That's like
me.
It's like the marker Charpie, but use a C instead of an S. So follow us there to find out what other junk we're up to, and if you want to see pictures of beer we drink.
That's right.
So I think with that, should we sign it off? Until next season? Question mark?
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening, folks, and thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you.